Hi, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Distractions, a podcast with two Marvel fanboys who like to talk everything Marvel. My name is Matt, and tonight Jeremy will not be joining us. Apparently, he's got a job, and he needs to be there today, so who knew? Anyway, so for today's episode, I'm actually going to stray away from Marvel. And I know what you're saying. Between the two of us, me and Jeremy, I shouldn't be the one who's straying away from Marvel, but I actually want to talk about DC in this episode. I actually wanted to give my thoughts on DC's movies and their extended universe and my overall thoughts, impressions, and feelings on, what they've done so far and how they should focus going forward. Now, I'm not going to shy away from saying that, I don't like DC. I don't typically relate to the characters, and I'm much more of a Marvel fan. And, Jeremy is the opposite. He's more of a DC fan. He still loves the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's why we talk about Marvel, but I'm a Marvel fan at heart. He's more of a DC fan. So let me start with what they've done so far. The DC Extended Universe has had, Man of Steel, which maybe counted, but then you had Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, you have Justice League, and I'm sure there's one more in there that I'm missing, but all of those movies are really forgettable. And I think that is one of the main takeaways from this that I have. There's nothing in those movies that I see and I'm like, you know what? If they had continued down this path, it would have been great. Maybe with the exception of one scene in Dawn of Justice. But for the most part, Suicide Squad just felt like a bunch of, scenes cut together and then put out there. There was nothing about that movie that made me want to go see it again. Justice League, it was really bad. Jeremy and I talked about this in one of the earlier podcasts. But, they should have just moved forward with either Zack Snyder's or Joss Whedon's full movie. Not combine the two different conflicting, their styles, I guess. The characters and the actors in Justice League just did not seem like they wanted to be there. So it felt really forced, and the CGI was really bad. The villain was really generic. It just fell flat. Now, Justice League wasn't even the worst one. I would say that Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice were both much, much worse. Dawn of Justice strayed so far away from the character of Batman that it was almost laughable. And Superman is supposed to be the character that provides hope. He's supposed to be the beacon of light. Someone who's just very he can do it. He can change the world. He's happy. He wants to do this. He wants to be here. And you never get that emotion from Superman. I think all of these movies fell flat and they didn't do any justice to the characters. Going back, the one scene that gave me hope for Dawn of Justice was actually the very opening scene with Batman running through the rubble as he sees Superman and Zod, destroying each other and knocking down all these buildings. And that opening scene was like, wow, that's very powerful. I understand his motivation now. I understand why he became Batman and why he hates Superman, or, why that tension is there. But after that point, it just went away and they did nothing with it. So those movies were very forgettable. Now, I think they had a good idea by doing the team-up movie between Superman and Batman. I think going forward, DC should do either one of two things. Or do both, honestly. I'm fine with this. I think that they should focus more on individual and smaller team-up movies. For example, let's see Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter. Let's see Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Let's see, Batman and Green Lantern. I know there's some good Batman Green Lantern comics going around. So if they focused a lot on these little smaller team-ups, these pair movies, I think it would do the characters a lot more justice, and I think it would be a lot more enjoyable. It would provide an opportunity to, develop some of the, lesser known characters like Martian Manhunter or Green Lantern. It would allow more screen time. It would allow them to use better villains and maybe more realistic villains, or villains that we want to see on screen, not something like Steppenwolf who no one gives a crap about. The other thing I was thinking that they should do is just continue to focus on solo films. So if you want to really do the team up and you want to do the shared universe, then fine. But do the individual movies first, and then, make your way into these other, larger team ensemble movies. Wonder Woman was really good. Man of Steel was boring, but it wasn't the worst movie ever made. Obviously, a Batman movie would be great. The last Batman movie we saw was Chris Nolan's trilogy, and those were fantastic. I'm sure they could bring Batman back and have fun with it and just be a little kooky. I would also like to see them maybe take an Arkham Asylum, Arkham Origins, Arkham Knight, the video game approach to a Batman movie, where they bring in like all these cool villains that they have. I think Batman, between Marvel and DC, Batman has some of the best villains and the most fun and the most lively. I mean, you have Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Two-Face, Joker, Bane. You have, all of these characters. Bring them into some sort of ensemble similar to what Arkham Origins did or Arkham Knight, whatever the video game was. And just have fun with a Batman story. There's no need to like be dark or gritty. That being said, I do like the idea of them focusing on solo movies, and rather than going straight to a Justice League, I would like to see them do these pair-ups. Just see maybe Flash and Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, like I said. So if I were them, that's the approach I would take going forward. Additionally, it kind of relates to these, individual character movies or even the pair-up movies. But, one of the things that I've appreciated from DC Comics is that they have a lot of strong one-shot comic books. And by that I mean, Red Sun, Superman Red Sun, Superman Birthright. Even Superman and Batman Earth 1 were pretty good. And I know there's more, but I'm not going to go through and list all of them. Why can't they turn some of these cool stories into movies themselves? Red Sun is probably one of my favorite comics, and that's coming from someone who doesn't like DC Comics too much. And don't get me started, I understand that their comics are probably better than Marvel's right now. But what I mean is, Birthright and Red Sun, those are cool stories. Who doesn't want to see Superman land in Russia and grow up, around the Kremlin and all this stuff? It's very interesting. The politics are so much fun to watch and observe. And by doing that, it provides a venue or an opportunity to show some of the other characters in this new world. Batman and Wonder Woman are both in Red Sun, and they both take on their own unique role within that world. And I think that DC can really excel with these cool movies. I think it's one of the reasons why Logan was so successful as a Marvel movie. You took aspects from Old Man Logan, you really trusted the content, and you moved forward and you made a great movie. And I think if DC was just focused on, leveraging their source material, the comics, leverage the writers, the people who are creating this, then I think you'd see better content. And I don't know if there's a lot of creative control problems with maybe Warner Brothers having too much influence or what. But I do feel like once DC starts utilizing a lot of their source material a little bit more and a little bit better, we're going to see a lot better movies from DC. But yeah, I would love to see Birthright and I would love to see Red Sun. Both of those were just so much fun. I think another one was All-Star Superman and, Long Halloween or The Dark Knight or The Killing Joke. I don't know if it was The Killing Joke, but I remember one of these comics was about Joker killed Batman's entire family. And it's basically, Batman seeking out revenge against the Joker. He thought he killed the Joker, but the Joker ends up not being dead or something like that. And that whole relationship between the Joker and Batman it's like an interesting, intriguing love story almost, where the Joker can't survive without Batman and Batman can't seemingly survive without the Joker. So I think there's just so much good stuff there, and that they just need to leverage it. And once they do, I really think that they'll get their juices flowing, and you'll start seeing a lot better movies from the DC side. That being said, there are some characters that I think once they go all out with, it's going to be fun. Green Lantern was a horrible movie. Ryan Reynolds was a terrible choice for that character. Luckily, he found his calling with Deadpool. But if you're going to have a Green Lantern movie, why not explore the cosmos? I mean, the 10 or 15 minutes that they were on Oa with the rest of the Green Lantern Corps was probably some of the most interesting part of that movie. I mean, look at what Guardians did, or look at what Marvel did with Guardians of the Galaxy. They made Rocket Raccoon and Groot two mainstay characters who are some of their probably most popular characters now. So if you can do that with, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, I really feel like you can do that with Green Lantern. And I know that Green Lantern has a good backstory. The Lantern Corps, there's a good history there. Sinestro, Hal Jordan, that's a great relationship to explore. But make it off of Earth. No giant dust storms or whatever evil parallax villain you want. Just make it about the lanterns and explore those relationships with the lanterns. And that, personally, for me, is one of the movies that I would love to see. And I want to see it done right. One more thing that they could do is they could bring in a lot of these side characters. And I think they are starting to. I think Joss Whedon got the axe from Batgirl, but I'm sure they're going to still move forward with a Batgirl movie. They have Nightwing, who is, frankly, one of my favorite characters. And I really wish that he would get more movie time and not just like cartoon animation time, because he's really cool, and I think he's got a great costume, and I think he's just awesome. And you know what? Even give Robin some time. I don't know where he's from in the comics, but there is the Robin from Injustice 2, the video game, where he's got like a sword and a cowl, and he's really cool looking, and I could be a badass Robin, whether it's from another dimension or another universe or whatever it may be. But do something like that. Do something fun and crazy. If I recall correctly, Jeremy was telling me, there's a current comic going on with Batman where he's basically evil in all these different universes, and they come together, and he's fighting basically each of the Justice League members. And hell, that sounds like a great story too. Have fun with that. Put that on the big screen. Just be a little ballsy, be a little different, and do your best to try to differentiate yourself from Marvel. I want to see these movies succeed, and I want to enjoy them, because frankly, it's fucking great to be a comic book fan, a comic book nerd right now, because we've had 18 Marvel movies over probably Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, not including some of the bad ones in between, like Amazing Spider-Man. And then we've had probably similar amount of DC movies, maybe like 10 to 15. So anyways, now that my nerd rant is over, thank you for listening. And as always, I've been Matt. Later.